Hello, okay, for those of you returning to the channel, welcome back, and for those of you that are new here, that have just stumbled upon this video, then thank you for joining me, and welcome to my spoiler-free review of absurdist black comedy thriller Bugonia, the latest from director, and I'm gonna probably butcher this pronunciation here, but director Yorgos Lanthimos, who also directed the very good Poor Things, which I really enjoyed. And so I've been really looking forward to this movie, having enjoyed Poor Things and what he did there, you know, with his take really on the Frankenstein story. And Bugonia is based on a 2003 South Korean film titled Save the Green Planet. I've never seen it, and so I have no idea in sort of what happens within this story. So I was kind of going in blind, and I'm so happy that I did, because this was one hell of an experience. So, Bugonia follows two young men who kidnap a powerful CEO, suspecting that she is secretly an alien who wants to destroy Earth. So yeah, having read the synopsis, and you know, you've got Yorgos Lanthimos directing this movie, you know you're going to be in for something that is just out there, absurd, crazy, but also very creative and, you know, imaginative as well. At least that's what I was hoping for and kind of wanting after experiencing Poor Things. So, the movie begins by introducing us to Ted Gans, who's played by Jesse Plemons, this downtrodden beekeeper and conspiracy theorist who lives in this house, this rundown house, with his intellectually disabled cousin Don. And just from those opening moments, the sort of the opening scene here, where you've got Jesse Plemons, you know, conveying his love for bees and sort of talking about colony collapse disorder, and just sort of really introducing us really to the character of Ted Gans in those opening moments, and then how the story evolves, and we're introduced to the CEO played by Emma Stone. This movie had me locked in right from the start. I was engaged right from those opening moments, and that's because of what Yorgos Lanthimos achieves here with how he brings this story to life from every element, from every aspect. The writing being one of the major highlights here that kind of really just allowed me to sort of be swallowed up within this story, within sort of the journey of these characters. It's very smart, it's tight, it's very captivating. The writing within this movie, the dialogue is very captivating, and it's one of those elements of this experience that just kept me locked in. We learn so much about the character of Ted Gans through those sort of first couple of minutes by that captivating, smart and tight writing, and that is consistent throughout this movie. Like, there isn't a line of dialogue that feels out of place. It's writing, it's dialogue that just adds to sort of the authenticity of what is occurring here within a very absurd story. So no matter how absurd this movie gets and out there, I remained immersed, I remained engaged, I was locked in with these characters, and I was having one hell of a time. This movie, I adored this movie. I loved it because it worked on so many levels. Like, the humour, for example, you know, black comedy, it's my kind of humour. And not everyone gets it right for me personally, you know, when it comes to this type of humour, black comedy, satirical humour. Not everyone gets it right for me. You know, we've had a few films this year where we've had this type of humour and it just hasn't worked. But here, in Bugonia, they fucking knock it out of the park. Like, I was laughing throughout this movie, and it's dark humour, right? You know, this is the type of humour that has me laughing, but it's also making me feel uncomfortable. It's challenging me due to sort of the darker nature of sort of what is happening within that moment but has got me laughing. And a lot of it is down to the superb performances from both Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, right down to how these moments are shot and framed. Like, there's this one particular moment, and it is incredibly dark due to what is happening within that moment, due to what one character is inflicting upon another. But due to how it plays out visually, to the superb, nuanced performance from Emma Stone. Emma Stone, by the way, is phenomenal in this film. She was fantastic in Poor Things, but I think there was just something about her performance in this that I just found incredibly compelling, but also very effective due to how she was bringing the humour to life. And this moment, it was evoking this laughter from me, but like I said, making me feel uncomfortable, because it's a brutal moment, it's a brutal scene, and it's sort of, you could feel the brutality that is occurring within the moment, but at the same time, it's making you laugh due to sort of the more absurd nature of its story. And I fucking loved that, because it never felt out of place. It worked beautifully as one. And it was evoking these emotions in a way where it genuinely felt like I was on this very sort of authentic, consistent thrill ride that was evoking all these sort of different emotions from me, and it just resulted in me being immersed and compelled within this story with these characters in what is a very sort of contained setting, which also allows, you know, being set within this kind of very contained setting is what really sort of just allows. It's just another element that really allows this story to work. This entire experience was the perfect blend of black comedy and sort of those darker real day themes in which the story is reflecting, whether it be politics or corporate exploitation and conspiracy theorists and all that, you know, whether you be on the right, the left, everyone and everything is ridiculed in this movie. You know, it's a very balanced experience, and just the way in which these different elements are weaved into the story, I just found it to be incredibly clever. It was very meticulous in how all these different elements came together to create what I felt was a genuinely authentic, enjoyable, fun, thrilling experience that, like I said, evoked these different emotions. Like, there are elements of the story that are quite tragic, and there are aspects of the story, you know, after, there might be a moment that is quite tragic, but then you'll have a moment later where you are laughing your head off, or I was anyway, but at the same time then challenging you, because it's like, you know, should you really be laughing, you? But it fucking is. It's funny, and it is so incredibly clever. You know, it has this off-kilter tone throughout, which you would come to know now, you know, after, especially with Poor Things and Yorgos Lanthimos. You know, it's very much his film when it comes to the tone and sort of the way in which, you know, his style of bringing these stories to life. And it's just a very consistent experience that evoked all these different emotions. You know, it's an absurd, extremely funny, but disturbing and tragic experience. And I was smiling throughout. There are moments that, yes, you know, hit emotionally. I mean, if I was to get into sort of minor gripes here, you know, if I was to really sort of nitpick, then maybe, yeah, you know, maybe they could have finely tuned sort of the more emotional, darker elements of its story when it comes to the journeys of Ted Gans and his cousin Don, and sort of, you know, that kind of story there with what's motivating Ted Gans. That's, again, played wonderfully by Jesse Plemons. And, you know, he is this kind of, his character is the big sort of emotional core of this story here, the kind of the tragic core of this story, and, you know, the reasons to why he's doing what he's doing and his motivations. It's there and it's done wonderfully, it's conveyed beautifully, but maybe the intensity of that story could have been focused on just a little bit more, but that is really, honestly, a nitpick from me, because overall, this was one hell of a satisfying experience. It's probably, out of all the movies I've seen this year so far, it is one of the most satisfying, fun, thrilling experiences that I've had in the cinema. You know, this was an experience that really does take you on a journey. You feel like it's going one direction, or you feel like it's going one way with these characters, and then it takes a complete U-turn and goes the complete opposite, and it's like, oh, it is actually going there. And then it will sort of take another sharp turn and go sort of back on itself, and I'm like, oh my god, it's actually really going there. And you know, I'm trying to sort of really be vague here because this is a spoiler-free review, but how the story does that sort of catapults you sort of in all directions and sort of really kind of misleads you on where you think this story is going to go. And the way in which it tricks you, or it did me anyway, you know, I don't know what that says about me, but this experience tricked me quite a bit, and I just love that, because there wasn't a moment in this movie where I thought it was predictable, or I really knew where I felt the story was going to go, and that really kind of added to sort of the overall enjoyment of this experience. And then when you get the third act, and then when it really does go into the direction it's going, I was like, fuck yeah, this is great. The score by a Jeskin Fendrix, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly there. He also did the score for Poor Things, and it's quite, I won't say similar, but you could tell, you know, it's the same composer, and just due to how sort of certain pieces of arrangements or musical arrangements are placed within certain moments, you know, it's very similar to Poor Things. The score to Poor Things was one of my favourite soundtracks of last year, and I absolutely adored the soundtrack here because it really captures what our characters are going through emotionally, and really does a wonderful job at conveying where our characters are mentally. It's a very dramatic and bombastic score in moments, really elevating the current and power of where our characters find themselves within the journey. It's a layer of the experience that just adds this emotional depth to the overall experience. It's a wonderful score. And like I said, just with Poor Things, you'll have this kind of big, bombastic, dramatic arrangement within a certain moment, and it says so much with what our characters are going through psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and the story that it does, it just sort of, it's another one of those elements that just swallows you up within the drama and sort of the thrill of these characters' stories and journeys within this experience. Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, you know, along with all those other aspects I've mentioned already within this review, their performances and in how they bring these characters to life is what really kind of aids this experience, and what made this experience so effective for me. You know, Jesse Plemons, the way in which he brings his characters to life, Ted Gans, he does a wonderful job at always keeping the character within sort of this, sort of the more darker, real tone of its story, with what the character is going through, you know, emotionally and psychologically, that kind of very tragic, darker tone of its story. So it allows you to remain invested with the character's journey because it feels real. Due to how he's bringing this character to life, you can feel the pain, you can sense the pain and the anger that the character's going through due to how Jesse Plemons is bringing this character to life. And what he does wonderfully here, same with Emma Stone, is how he brings the kind of the more humorous aspects to life within the performance without losing sight of the more dramatic, serious aspects of its character's journey, of its character's story. And Emma Stone is also fantastic here at really kind of, selling the absurdity of its story by delivering when it comes to the humour. But it would be these very nuanced things that she would do within her performance. Just the way she would look at another character, the way she would say a certain line, the way in which the camera would just sort of focus on her, and just... She was incredible here at kind of really getting these different tones to sort of come together and work in a way that was just so incredibly effective. It was funny, but you also still sense the kind of those sort of darker, more dramatic, serious tones of what they are exploring here with its themes. And I just love the look of the film. Visually, it's shot on 35mm. And it adds so much more depth to this experience. It adds this kind of gritty realism to what is an absurd story, allowing you to remain immersed within these characters' journeys and sort of, to a degree, buy into what is occurring, no matter how absurd it gets. I adored how the movie looked visually. And again, it's another one of those elements that just adds to the overall experience. Because, at the end of the day, like I said, I keep using the word absurd. This is a very absurd premise. And it does go to some really absurd places. And I just think because of that clever writing, the wonderful performances, and just the way in which this film was shot, using 35mm, it all just helps sort of, well, it did for me anyway, swallow me up within this experience, within sort of these characters' journeys. So yeah, I think that's enough rambling on from me now. I could talk about this film forever. There's just so much that I want to talk about when it comes to what they explore here with its themes and its story. But I think when it does come to what this movie is exploring, with its themes, whether it be corporate exploitation, conspiracy theorists, and, politics today, and how it conveys politics today, and sort of where we are as a society, and sort of, laying society bare. It's all just done here. It's all just brought to life in a way that is very authentic. It's immersive. It's captivating. It's compelling. And it evokes all these different emotions. Like, yes, I got minor niggles with what I've already mentioned when it comes to perhaps the more darker emotional element of its stories, specifically with Ted Gans and his relationship with his mother and what's going on there. But the movie works. I had one hell of a good time with it. So yeah, I highly recommend Bugonia, and I will be giving Bugonia they are my thoughts on Bugonia. But what do you guys think? Have you seen it yet? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you agree or disagree with anything I've said? And please let me know in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch future movie reviews, I'm just some random Welsh geek rambling on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next spoiler-free review will be for Predator Badlands, that released today here in the UK. I'm gonna catch it after filming this review. I am so damn excited. I'm a massive fan of the Predator franchise as well as the Alien franchise, and I feel like what Dan Trachtenberg has been doing within the Predator franchise is just incredible. And so yeah, I'm really excited for Badlands this evening, and that will be my next spoiler-free review that will drop over the weekend. And I just want to say another massive thank you to everyone that is connected to the channel, whether it be liking, commenting, subscribing. It means the absolute world to me. And just a massive hello and thank you to the most recent subscribers who subscribed within the last week. And just, yeah, it means the world to me that you would want to follow just some random Welsh geek ramble on about film. So just, yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for joining me on this journey. So yeah, that's it from me for now, guys. Thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be catching you guys soon.